Who we playing, Rammer?
Russia?
No. Canada in the Four Nations final.
Yeah.
Like this is some throwaway game up in Utica. Or Bridgeport. I guess Bridgeport probably would have landed better, but for those listening on Friday, we are just a couple hours from puck drop on the Four Nations final between USA and Canada. And I wouldn't say I'm an overtly patriotic guy, but when it comes to all things USA hockey, I start turning into, Rocky IV up in this place. So yeah, I don't know about you. I'm stoked. I'm ready.
Yeah, walk in for a ton of Miracle references tonight.
If the cold open wasn't any indication, I think I caught you completely off guard with that one.
For the record, when he hit record, he was not wearing the hat or sunglasses. I was too stunned to speak.
I was hoping to kind of get that kind of reaction from you, and so it all worked out according to plan. But for those of us joining on Friday, welcome to another episode of Taps. This is your weekly show for all things American Hockey League, if you couldn't tell. And
are you wearing those over your actual glasses?
Yeah, because I can't see without them. So, this is how I'm doing it, so you're just gonna have to deal with it. And so yeah, thanks again for joining us this week. We're gonna break it down. I mean, as crazy and as wild as it's gonna be at the Four Nations, we're not gonna talk a whole lot about that. There's gonna be some references sprinkled in here and there, but yeah, we're here to bring you all the chaos of the American Hockey League going on, and it's gonna be a wild time. We're going to start off with a whole lot of wild. I know we talked earlier in this show about the longest suspension of the season for 5 games. We just won up that. It was just announced that Utica's Dmitry Ozapov and Belleville's Donovan Sebrango each got slapped with a couple of sussies here. Ozapov got 2 games for doing a no-no, and we'll talk about it. And then Sebrango got a whole 6er for this. Now, before people start claiming that, Sebrango went and took his skate off and tried to stab somebody or something like that, it was pretty automatic. He came off the bench in an altercation, and that's a big no-no. You can't really do that.
Yeah, 3rd minute is still illegal.
Yeah, we got a bit of a video here, actually, to show all y'all. Courtesy of a friend on the Twitter sphere, Jack Lucas at SensFanForLife96, who got it from another friend of his, Curtis Sparks. We got a nice little. And hit today. And he stopped running, trying to get after us. Getting in there. Can't really do that. I mean, it's a pretty cut and dry rule. So I think you can see the reaction of the Belleville player. Once he gets kind of pulled out of that ruckus, he's leaning forward, grabbing his eye. There's some allegations that, in that scrum there was maybe some fingers up into the face where they shouldn't have been, and that might have been the cause of the 2-game suspension. Unfortunately, the AHL is never like, oh, here's why he's suspended. It's just like, oh, results of his actions. And like I said, the rule is pretty cut and dry. If you come off the bench during an altercation like this, it's an immediate 6 games, and that's what happened for Donovan. I'm familiar with this kid down in Grand Rapids over the last couple of years. He's not one to just kind of like fly off the handle for no reason. And it's, understandable. It's still 6 games that he's going to have to sit for there, unfortunately. So, tough look.
Yeah.
The rule book's the rule book.
It's not like this is a new rule that he's never had to deal with before, ever in his life. That third man in rule. It is, once you can start getting physical in hockey, the third man in rule applies. Like, you cannot exit your bench for any reason other than gameplay or at the intermission or at the end of the game. You cannot exit your bench onto the ice. You can exit your bench down a tunnel, but you cannot exit your bench onto the ice.
Especially,
Especially to get into a fight. Like, it's not the first time he's heard of this. It's not like he didn't know that he had to go get his helmet or skate to the bench. It's not like this is a transitionary rule that doesn't exist in every other hockey league ever.
Yeah.
So
it's 10 games at the National League. So, he really saved himself a couple of games by not doing this up in Ottawa. And again, it's like, I understand why he did it. And, you're setting up and defending your teammate and all that. I get it. I support his defense of the teammate. I feel like you could have picked your spot better, right? Like, maybe your next shift instead of getting right after him at that immediate spot. Now,
there is a time and a place for vengeance. And if you have to exit your bench, it's probably not the time for said vengeance. Maybe like pick your battles, put a couple of battles back, and then make sure you have the correct coupons for said battles.
Exactly. I think the coupon analogy is right. Like, you have the right energy by going after this guy, and we support it. But that deal was expired.
Right.
You got to cash that coupon at a different time.
You cannot double and triple up on coupons here, my guy.
Read the fine print, and it's actually not that fine. It's pretty.
It's actually very large. Yeah.
And poor Donovan's just like, oh, that's not going to stop me. And
I can't read.
So, again, I love the energy. I just, the method, it's pretty cut and dry. I can't argue this one. I think we've tried to argue suspensions in the past before, but I think on every occasion we've kind of sided with the league. And
because at the end of the day, it's the AHL suspensions are nothing like the NHL suspensions, where they just kind of suspend arbitrarily and based on subjective like reasoning and understanding, and you get to argue your case and you can argue yourself out of a suspension. At the AHL, we really only see automatic suspensions. We don't really see the ones that were like, well, maybe we should review this, because they don't even have video review for goals. So why would they have video review for whether or not something's a suspension?
We can't get that. We're not there just yet to review the goals, and so one step at a time. That's for sure. But yeah, it is kind of funny how every time there is a suspension in the parent league, it's like, here's all this controversy and here's all like this. Like, I feel like every social media page up there is like, this guy got suspension. What are your thoughts? Because there's always like a thought associated with it, or an opinion, or there's one side or the other. And that's
because it's extremely subjective in the national. And the American Hockey League, which is something that I fully appreciate, is that even though they don't tell us exactly, they don't say like, hey, blah, 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 he got suspended for breaking X rule X times or whatever. But it is always, when you go back and look at it, you can always find in the rule book exactly why they got suspended. You don't usually see anything more than like the minimum mandatory suspension in the AHL. So even though we don't have like a scouting the AHL refs kind of page to tell you why somebody was suspended and what the call was and all that, because we just don't need that.
Should
But
be
no. But there is a lot of transparency in the fact that they're going to say so and so was suspended for a minute, like for these games. And there's never like, oh well, player hearing, you know. It's there's not a lot of find the maximum allowable under the CBA in the AHL. They really love it when their consequences have actual weight to them.
Mm-hmm. There's no like, and there's not like an appeal, or I'm sure there's hearings that just aren't announced, whether they're in person or otherwise. Probably most of them are going to be phone calls or emails. This could be an email, and
Right. But
so
we don't see a lot of this was like an egregious thing, and somehow they talked themselves into a fine where it should have been an automatic suspension, but they talked themselves into a fine. And we don't have the weird gray area where the NHL's player safety operates under this weird language of what it means to be a repeat offender and what intent means. Intent to NHL player safety means something extremely different than it does in a court of law, and it's a little bonkers. It's a little cuckoo bananas.
it's a different system for sure, which is you'd expect it to be a little more parallel, I guess, because it's all feeding into the same. You wouldn't expect to have like different rule sets going in this league and then that league, but I digress. I kind of get 6 games versus 10 games. There's more games in the season in the NHL, so
I think it's proportionate. I just like the one thing where it's like with the AHL versus the NHL, most of their rules line up exactly with each other. You're basically learning how to play in the NHL and the AHL, so there's some like very tiny rules that change. But where I wish that the AHL would have even like the smallest fraction of the video review capabilities that the NHL has, and the I don't know, the word was like right on the tip of my tongue, not the responsibility to actually review some of these things, like the mandate to actually review some of these things. I wish that the NHL's player safety process was as cut and dry. Did they break the rule? Then they're going to be punished for breaking that rule the way that the AHL is.
I agree. There's you always want to look to improve your system, and maybe the NHL could learn a thing or two from the American League.
Well, maybe they should start with looking at who's in their player safety department and not putting a known goon in charge of player safety. I don't care how good his mustache is.
Hey, he went to Harvard.
That's the first thing wrong with them. I'm a Boston University girl. I love Terriers hockey. Yeah, absolutely love Terriers hockey.
I thought like for a second I was like, wait, did she go to school there? And I wasn't aware of this, or
no, I didn't go to school. I went to the Army.
The School of Hard Knocks.
I went to the School of Army Twats.
Moving on. We this is so like how I was just playing up Henderson and how much fun they're about to be and how like I can't wait for this run to the end.
And then they had some fun and it was incredible and glorious and we were right every time. I know.
And then you know what Vegas did? They're like, hey, why don't we take one of our best players?
Yeah, what if we just nip that in the bud right now?
Yeah. So yeah, forward Grigori Denisenko, former first-round pick of the Florida Panthers, not just traded to Nashville and to the who made his debut for the Admirals today and against Chicago, but traded for future considerations. Just that poor kid just can't.
That poor guy. Yeah, we had such high hopes for considerations when he was drafted as high as he was, but I think he's just been severely mismanaged, and bounced around. The good news is that he does have a lot of trade value. So there is something valuable that teams are seeing in him. But to go between multiple teams and multiple leagues all the time is just, it's got to be rough on the kid.
I hope he doesn't take after, or his brother passed doesn't really take up after him, because you really want to see someone just kind of try and stick around from this family. But as
The
for Denisenko,
family's too talented.
Denisenko with 24 points in 42 games for the Silver Knights, and like I said, he made his debut for Milwaukee. I only really caught glimpses of him because we decide to have games that start at 11 o'clock in the AHL. I mean, school day games, love it for the kids and everything. It's just makes it tough for the media when I have a day job and I have to look over my shoulder to see if my boss is watching while I slip on the old tab.
Guess who doesn't have a day job? Me.
I'm sorry about that.
Whatever.
Well, now you can text me at Tuesday at 1:30 and just be like, "Hey, you know what I just did? I just had fun, and I'm gonna be in the office." It's like, wow, that's great. So happy for you. Anyway, I'm kind of, I'm noticing a pattern of Nashville just kind of always reaching out for these kind of guys. I'm kind of surprised that I assumed Denisenko wanted a bit of a fresh start with a new organization. I get that. I could have understood this trade maybe last year when Milwaukee kind of had more of Igor Afanasayev or Yaroslav Askarov in there. Like, hey, a couple more Russian pros. Like, why not? But
A little bit more steam underneath them too, because I think we're seeing a lot of that patented Nashville mismanagement starting to affect Milwaukee just a little bit. You get a player like that. I guess, they're praying that he's going to bring some of that steam with him. But I think he's just going to be a little bit of a fish out of water there.
maybe at first. I think once he settles in, he's just gonna create more headaches for my beats. And it's one thing that I really don't need right now is Milwaukee just continuing to be good, but I can't.
I still, even though it was a really good move on Nashville's part, an incredible move. Um, I still like it. I'm still kind of struggling to understand what the vision is in Nashville. Is that they're bolstering Milwaukee. Like they're putting a lot of focus on Milwaukee. But what about the Predators?
I mean, I don't know if you can fix the Predators. They tried really hard this offseason and it just blew up in their face. So
Yeah, well, they got rid of, goalies and they're getting rid of, people. And just like it doesn't make any sense. Like you got rid of Carrier, which makes absolutely no sense. I know that every egg is in Roman Yossi's basket, but Carrier was by far the better player, better option for them.
right.
Yossi's getting older, Yossi is dealing with whatever he's dealing with from season to season. You've already got a struggling Saros. Why is all of the focus on I guess you're going to get your win where you can get your win, but
Maybe maybe Carrier just he stuck his neck out too far and it just wasn't enough for Barry Trotz, and I'm trying to make jokes and they're just not landing.
I
But
know. I'm not complaining. The boy came home, and he's having a grand old time. But yeah, just it doesn't make any sense, Admirals. Make it make sense, all right?
the Admirals are doing fine. It's Nashville that's got to make sense there. This Saturday, the 22nd, Charlotte is going to be paying a little bit of homage to their bloodlines, some AHL kind of royalty. They're going to be rocking the Albany River Rats jerseys. Now, this franchise the Checkers were up in Albany, and I believe they were purchased and moved in 2011. And yeah, it's a nice, I think it's a nice tie-in. I like how it's kind of in the same vein that you see like Carolina rocking the Hartford jerseys. It might be a bit of a twist of the knife in some of the fans, maybe some of the old River Rats fans out there in Albany who are like, oh, yay, we get to see a jerseys play for a team that's 1,000 miles.
Not ours. Yep. I know exactly how you feel, River Rats fans.
Tell us all about it, Dee.
At least they didn't make the jerseys ugly. Like, at least they look good. Like they do look very good. It's not exactly the same. It is definitely.
It says Charlotte on the wrap, but everything else looks really nice.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same, but uglier. It is definitely an homage to the team, and it is not ruined. So at least you guys have that going for you, River Rats.
Yeah, no, they're not completely tarnishing their former team's legacy like a certain team in the America's heartland full of corn, of which...
Like, you changed the colors, man. It didn't need to be gold, dude. It could have stayed silver. The silver was beautiful, and they made it work even with the Minnesota Wild color. Dude, like, why did it have to be gold?
You're going to have to talk to some folks over in Des Moines about that one, because we've been trying to figure it out for months now. But
better yet, I'm just going to wipe Des Moines off the map.
There you go. The people of Des Moines didn't have to go through.
They may relocate.
No, but where? There's nowhere else to go. It's Iowa.
Ohio? I don't know.
That's worse.
It's what they get for
living in them. I'd rather get vaporized.
Well, all right. Well, then I guess you speak for the city of Des Moines. Bye-bye, Des Moines. Goodbye, Des Moines.
Oh, that's mean. Anyway. Yeah, check those out. Charlotte's going to be rocking those this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, throwback a little bit to kind of like that like late 2000s AHL vibes, which was kind of felt like the Wild West in hockey a little bit. It should be a great time. All right, so I want to address a bit of a point that was brought up. A listener of ours from Cleveland. Okay, so Cleveland's got a little bit of history in the AHL, and we had a lot of fun talking about a certain team out of Oklahoma City that I think we might have like a bit of copyright infringement here, because Cleveland's storied franchise, the Barons, were local favorites in the area. I believe they were even in the NHL for a year, like a quick year of like that weird set like 1970s NHL where it was like you had the Kansas City Scouts and the California Golden Seals. And then for like a break,
the Golden Seals, honestly.
I love the Golden Seals, man.
Yeah, what a team.
What a squad. I wish bring them back. But for like a quick blip on the radar, there was like a year of Cleveland Barons, and then they were most famous in the American League, and I believe there's some sour grapes still over Oklahoma City taking that Baron title. Now, the franchises aren't related at all. It's not like Cleveland relocated to Oklahoma City. No, this is it's not even like the same Baron. Oklahoma City is the oil barons, and then Cleveland's logo was way cleaner too with the Monopoly guy. Like, you can't beat that.
Yeah, listen, I also get it, Cleveland.
I get it.
Yeah, just gonna steal your identity and not the same, Totally get it. Listen, it's not my fault that we had to talk about Jordan Eberle. But if you want to also delete any reference of the Barons from the internet, let me know. I might know a guy. I don't know a guy. I can't do anything, but I will commiserate with you.
Now, I did a little search. So there's actually three actually of the Barons. Two in the American League, one in the NHL. The
Briefly.
original lasted from, 1937 until 1973. And then we had the second life from 2001 to 2006. Do you know who the Barons currently are now? That franchise is still in the league.
Mm-hmm.
It is the Barracuda. So if anyone's got any right to use that name, it would be San Jose.
The Barracuda.
Barracuda. They really need to find a way to make a trip out to Sweden and use
I
it.
need that.
So
Barracuda.
cool. But that second iteration of the Barons is more like it's got the shark with the top hat and the monocle and all that from 2001 until 2006 at Gund Arena, which is now currently no longer the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Now it's the Rocket Arena, which, speaking of copyright complaints, does Laval have anything to say about that?
Nah, because they're plus Bell,
That's right. Yeah.
which was Bell sponsored Bell Telecommunications. In case you're not Canadian, Bell Telecommunications sponsors both. Well, actually, like three of them. All three of those are. So you got the obviously Bell Center sponsor Bell. There's Plus Bell, and then there's also the training facility in Brossard is sponsored by Bell.
That.
Yeah. So.
I didn't realize Bell had such a monopoly in the
Oh
greater.
my! Do you not know about Canadian telecommunications super monopolies?
Well, I know of the one.
So there's Bell, there's Rogers, and like Telus, but which is like Virgin or whatever. There's like three, and depending on what area of like Canada you're in, they have a monopoly over your telecommunication. Your phone service, your Wi-Fi, your everything is all through that one. Or like maybe you get lucky and you're in like a big city and they have a couple different overlapping areas. But because you only have a handful of options, you're cooked. You have to choose one of them, and they charge exorbitant prices because any littler startup that comes through gets ran out because they have three super monopolies for telecommunications.
Well, what a great time to bring that up when we're talking about like the Barons and the Monopoly Man looking logo and all of that. Like that's absolutely perfect. I was about to say, I think you have a ghost in your.
It's my dog because they keep just leaving her back here. I'll be right back.
Do thing.
Keep talking.
I'll keep it going because I want to talk about some of the matchups that we got coming up this week. There's a lot. I mean, we've talked before about how more important that these games are coming now that we're starting to get into the stretch run. There's about 20-ish games that are remaining. We haven't got quite yet to the playoff primer coming out. But we got some big games coming up, and it starts this weekend. Oh, I'm all about it. I want to start with Henderson going into Milwaukee to take on the Admirals because this has happened yet again where Milwaukee poaches a player from another AHL team, and their first chance at getting onto the ice with the Admirals is against the old team. It happened with Chase DeLeo against Charlotte. Welcome back, by the way.
Hello. She knows how to open doors. So
well, one, you got some smart dogs that know how to open doors, and I admire that, and I'm glad they're not my dogs. Anyway, this is the second opportunity that Milwaukee's kind of poached a player from another team just for them to make their weekend debut against that old team. We talked about Chase DeLeo with Charlotte, and now Denisenko is going to be playing against Henderson. Do you think he's going to be like, let me show why you should regret getting rid of me, or why you should have played me more, or whatever reason he had for leaving that organization? Or do you think he's going to be more like, I don't want to hurt the homies, I'll just play it chill?
I think it depends on like why he left. We're assuming that he asked for the trade. I didn't see
If he
anything.
didn't ask for the trade and he got traded for future considerations,
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like they might be doing some roster management. They might be doing like whatever they have to do. You know what I mean? But we're assuming he asked for the trade. If he did ask for the trade, I mean, he's definitely got to be like, it's like when you break up and you want your ex to think you're doing okay, you know? So like obviously like you got to come out and you got to play like big minutes and strong minutes and like whatever. If he didn't, then I guess he's also going to be like, well, you broke up with me, so now I got to make you regret that decision. Like I said, we don't know why he got traded. We're just assuming based on previous patterns of trades that he did in fact request the trade. Um, I don't know. It just could have been some kind of like roster management, some kind of like contract situation or whatever. Like trade him for like you're going to be negotiating like contracts that you need to keep, whereas you might not be able to keep that contract this year, next year, a couple years down the line, kind of thing. I think either way, it's one of those show the X what they're missing situations.
I'm doing great, by the way, Jessica. Nice for you to chime in.
Freaking Jessica.
Yeah, no, not that I needed to let her know that I'm doing great or anything. Yeah, I think that one, Grigori is gonna. I think there's still gonna be an adjustment period there for him. It's probably gonna look a little uncomfortable, and yeah, maybe seeing his ex is probably gonna. I mean, there might be some motivation there, but I think I personally would be thinking more like, I'm about to see these guys in town. We're gonna have like one more dinner, and then they're gonna go their separate ways, and I'm gonna go mine.
So you're thinking it's more like the ending of that one Fast and Furious movie where they had to CGI Paul Walker in?
Yes, with a better ending.
I don't know which one that was. I think
I
it was
I don't
seven.
know. They all start the blur together after Tokyo Drift.
I don't know. Somebody tell us in the comments. Which Fast and Furious
leave,
movie?
leave a comment below which Fast and Furious.
Which Fast and Furious movie is that one with Khalifa song in?
But I'm really hoping that Henderson can continue to plug away, because I want to maintain that this team can make that Pacific Division race interesting, even though like Denisenko is gone. They're probably going to continue to get gutted because Vegas never does like player development or anything like that. It's always like, let's trade all the young players and draft picks for the hot, shiny new toy at the trade deadline. So,
Yeah. Well, also consider too, is Mark Stone still playing for Vegas?
define playing, because he's probably going to end up on LTIR in a couple
Exactly my point. If Mark Stone is still in that organization, he just played a tournament against 3 other countries. He's in the lineup tonight. He's probably going to have a microfracture. He's actually made up of microfractures at this point. So
Reminder to the audience that we are recording this about an hour and a half before puck drop of the game. So, like, I don't know if you're manifesting anything right now, but we're going to look back on this either with horror or like hopefully nothing too bad.
I'm tired of hearing about how
I'm
great a
tired of
team
hearing about
Canada has. All right, their time is over. It's our time.
go out there and
Take it.
oh yeah, I'm surprised we've only had like a couple of miracle references so far in this one.
Well, we still
It's
have like half an hour. We're
yeah,
fine.
we have plenty.
There's so much. When we get into games, when we get talking about the games, we'll have way more miracle references.
Yeah. We well, we got another matchup coming up here. We got Colorado going into Texas. Now, this is interesting for a number of different reasons. I mean, I think we've both well established how much we enjoy Colorado. You have your own connections to the team. I've always enjoyed like from a distance watching Eagles. I like the way that they play hockey. I think they're really well coached. I love the way that their roster's constructed. And I'm a big fan of Adam Scheel. And they're always right in the mix at the top of this division. Now, they're right up in there. It's tough fighting with Calgary. They're who's just been established up there since the beginning of the season, but point percentage wise, they're right there neck and neck with them. So you got Texas on the other side, who, thanks to Grand Rapids just laying a giant egg in the month of February, I've ranted enough about them, so we'll skip over that. They've now got themselves a chance to grab this division lead, but like I went and did some research about this when I was ranting about how terrible Grand Rapids is, and the rest of the Central just does not play well outside of this division. I think this might be the worst division in this league because they kind of like they can beat up on Iowa and Manitoba, two of the worst teams out there if it wasn't for Bridgeport. They kind of spread the points around evenly around each other, but then Colorado comes into Grand Rapids and outscores them 9-0 in 2 games. Texas and Milwaukee don't really do anything. I think Milwaukee maybe 500, and Texas has been getting smoked by Ontario and Colorado. So this is a chance to maybe establish yourself and grab some points out of the division for either one of these sides. But maybe I'm just biased from that research, but I really don't see Texas doing a whole lot in this one. I think Colorado's gonna lay the hammer down.
Colorado's also hungry. They're kind of tired of coming in like 4th place to a couple of teams that are
Coachella and Calgary.
yeah, like the rest of the C teams. Yeah, they're tired of it. And you can kind of see it this season in the way they're playing. They are like actually like keeping up with Calgary. They're not letting themselves really like slide down too far. It's the battle. They've had some changes and whatnot, roster changes and everything. However, just I don't know. The Central, I think, needs to be realigned. I think there's some teams that need some shuffling around, and it needs a realignment. Possibly, Iowa needs to not exist, and then you might see better results. I don't know.
This is just Iowa and Des Moines erasure.
They could give them back. We'll be fine.
I've been trying to champion the Eagles to come into the Central for a while now, and I think it's a tough. Not that it's really tough travel wise. I mean, it's a lot of mileage whether you're going to be in the Pacific or the Central. And if the AHL can make Manitoba work, then they can make Colorado work in the Central as well.
Well, the AHL also made Newfoundland work for a while, so I don't really think they have a leg to stand on about miles traveled.
They did until they didn't.
Yeah, so I don't think, yeah, miles traveled is not a consideration. It's
Yeah.
past, present, and future that are the considerations.
Yeah, we'll see. I really have been impressed with what the Eagles have been doing all season because right, the early season struggles were more of kind of just being cannibalized by the Avalanche because the entire top 6 of the Eagles was the middle 6 of the Avalanche for a while. It
Mhm.
was great seeing Ivan on Avs though. I will give him that. And
Yeah, Ivan had fun. But then, there were the trades. You got rid of both goaltenders for new goaltenders. So now you don't have to. They haven't really had to worry too much about cannibalizing the Eagles, except for um, when one of them almost died, and the rest didn't care. Um,
Are you salty about that? I can't tell.
no, totally not. They've got they had a few injuries and whatnot that they're dealing with. Obviously, Nichushkin still like not in the lineup, and now they don't even have a Rantanen.
But they do have a
The
Marty Mages.
Yeah, but the Moose is no longer loose. You can't. There's nothing for them to hit on the runway when they're trying to get back, and then they have to push the plane and see if it's okay. So Herb has to call his wife. There's no Moose.
You might find a couple of Manitoba, but yeah, not a whole lot in Colorado anymore.
Yeah, but on the other hand, bright side, they haven't really dealt with too many injuries uh,
Don't jinx them.
since since the goalie trade. So, you
And as
know,
long as TJ Tynan there is there and he's doing his thing, this is going to be a team that's always going to be putting up the points and looking good while they're doing it. I've mentioned before in this pod, I've enjoyed the game of Ty Fellover. I like what he's doing there. And I think this has now created a good opportunity for guys like Trent Miner and Adam Scheel, who I wouldn't want to call them afterthoughts, but for the last couple of years have been guys who, have been backups in their roles or third goalies that, can kind of come up between the coast and the AHL. And now it's like you have your shot in the cage, and this is your team. This is the time to make it happen. I want to see the kid who wouldn't take the test. So
yeah.
let's
Well, my
let
thing about Miner too is that Miner's the one that they called up when they needed a third goalie.
right.
Miner, even has NHL action now. Um, I think that has done wonders for that kid's confidence. Like he sees the direction that he's going is positive. Because I know it can feel like you're just kind of stagnant. You're just like, why am I still in the AHL? Like,
Right.
why am I still here? Am I not doing enough work? Am I not doing good work? Am I not actually developing? Like, what is happening? But he's the guy they call up when they need a third goalie, and he's got NHL minutes on his name, on his elite prospect page. He's got NHL stats, and that I really feel like has done wonders for his confidence, because he looks like he's a newly reinvigorated goalie between those pipes.
Yeah. I like the Eagles' chances. I like I said, I think they're gonna bring the hammer, and we'll see. We didn't talk a whole lot about the Stars. Obviously, they're at the top of the division for a reason. I think we expected a fall off with Matt Murray going to Milwaukee, with Maverick Borg and Logan Stankoven heading up to Dallas, and this team just keeps rolling. So I don't sleep on the Stars, but I like the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, I think you said everything that needed to be said about the Stars when you were talking about Central Division stats.
Yeah. I know a thing or two about Central Division hockey. Oh boy, oof, Maron. Also, this weekend we got Hershey going into Charlotte while they sport those River Rats jerseys on Saturday and Sunday. Now, Charlotte has been an interesting case this season. I feel like early on, they kind of surprised us all. They were at the top of the Atlantic, and we're like, ooh, boy, maybe we got a new king at the top of the division. Hershey's since reclaimed that title, and Charlotte's kind of, I wouldn't say they've fallen off, but they definitely
They've fallen a little behind.
There we go. I like that one more because, I think Wilkes-Barre has jumped ahead of them, and they're clearly at least one full step. And I forget who else is in the division. I'm sorry, I have to take a look off my browser for this, but this is still their chance to climb back into that race because these interdivisional games where you got the top dog where it's not too far ahead and two quick games back to back in a weekend, you can pull yourself right back into the top of the standings really quick. But
The divisional points are always
Bruins were the other team that were ahead of them.
Yeah, but the divisional points are always worth more. Like, not only are you earning points in the standings, you're physically keeping another team in your division who, sure, I guess at the end of the day, you're competing against everybody else in the league for whatever, but you're competing for them for playoff positioning and seeding. And if you can keep, so like 2 divisional points is actually worth 4 because you have kept somebody else from taking your spot in the standings.
Exactly. And yeah, I feel like Charlotte's they've dropped a couple of those, should be easier divisional games that kind of slip through their fingers. And now here you are, and you're in a bit of a dogfight. And Hershey was a team that was for a minute there was looking really vulnerable. Struggled against Bridgeport, got smoked by Syracuse, and then they kind of got called out by their coach, and then they win a couple of games against Wilkes-Barre, and everything's kind of turned around. And Vasily Ponomarev gets suspended for punching a bear in the head, and can't do that. But so now you're getting a championship team that's kind of dialed it back in, and it just makes it so much harder. Now you have the River Rats on your side, and you have the home crowd. So we'll see.
But the secret is those weaknesses are still there. You just need to exploit them.
Exploit.
And listen, every team has every opportunity. Just review the tapes, man. Just it's so, it sounds like such a simple answer. Just watch tape. Just watch tape. But just watch tape.
Just play hockey.
Right. Watch tape. Figure out what it is. Like what was it that was collapsing, and how can we force them back into that corner?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you gotta maybe sometimes you have to take the L to figure out what the weakness is. Sometimes you have to play the Russians at Madison Square Garden 2 days before the games start.
How about that? Yeah. I was, Charlotte gets Chase DeLeo ripped away from their hands and then has to try and climb back up the Atlantic. It's a battle, and it's going to be a battle every night. You got to kind of start to wind into playoff mode because, like I said, as of right now, I really like all 3 teams at the top of this division. I think Hershey's Hershey. Okay, what more can you say about them? Wilkes-Barre has been, I think, one of the bigger surprises of the season. Just how solid they are from top to bottom. Emil Benstrom, Ville Koivunen, I already mentioned Ponomarev, Owen Pickering, their goaltending with Tristan Jarry and Joel Blomqvist.
Which is just so bonkers to me.
I love it. But then you got Providence, and right, like Providence. Say what you will about them ruining it in the postseason because they just haven't faced Hartford yet, but like Michael DiPietro's research, his career has kind of revitalized. It's still the regular season, so they're still dangerous and they can still take you out.
Yeah, and they have done a lot less ruining so far this season than we are
Wait,
used to.
just wait till game 73, and I'll get a reserve judgment for that.
I know, but at this point in the season, I'm pleasantly surprised by how little ruining has happened.
We got a couple more here. I mentioned those Wilkes-Barre Penguins. They're going to be going on the road this weekend, taking on one of the hotter teams in the league recently, which is the Springfield Thunderbirds. I was a little surprised to research that one until they came into Grand Rapids and smoked them, but it's the way the Griffins have been playing wasn't that impressive. But I digress. This is a Wilkes-Barre team that's they've been I don't want to say smacked around, but you had a chance to really make a statement against Hershey. And between, a smattering of undisciplined penalties and just bad puck luck, you let a couple points get away from you. It is what it is. This is your chance to kind of like, hey, we're not going to let that rattle us, get in our heads. We got another good team that you're going on the road to face. So leave what happened with Hershey behind and you get right on to the next one. And I expect them to battle. They're, like I said, they're one of the better teams, I believe, in the division. But Springfield's no joke, and they're playing well. And this could be some fireworks going on over there in the Thunderdome.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, I do. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's the same thing, like with literally every other. You got to pick yourself up and not let it get into your head. Brush it off, shake it off, watch tape. What did you do wrong? What can you work on? I think this is one team where I will not suggest bag skating them until they barf. Because I think everything's still there. They're still playing cohesively. They're just not getting lucky on the correct side of the puck. Um, and yeah, watch tape. What fell apart? What unraveled? What went wrong? Do you need to maybe get kicked out of the arena and find somebody to reinvigorate your team's spirit because you guys didn't want to work during the game, so now you got to work after it. Get your who do you play for moment, I guess, and then realign with each other. Have I ever talked to you, speaking of Michael Rubione's who do you play for moment, how totally selfish that was of Ruzioni to do because clearly he knew the answer that Herb was looking for the entire time he was asking everybody, where are you from, who do you play for? Michael knew, and he did not think to share with his friends, countrymen, fellow patriots that what Herb was looking for is I play for the United States of America. He just was like, you know what, I'm going to use it to my advantage when it is most convenient for me, and I'm going to have the right answer. And then because like I'm considered one of the weaker players, he's going to like keep me around because obviously I'm good for morale. But good for morale, Mike, would have been maybe sharing that information with your poor friends who are being bag-skated to death.
In Russo's defense, he had to worry about his own game. There was plenty there to keep him busy.
Well, you know what? Like feed the wolf or something.
I got one more matchup for this weekend. It's a classic. I really do believe that this is starting to become like a classic rivalry between these two. Calgary going into Coachella Valley. Now, I don't know if Jordan Eberle is going to still be there this weekend because
Probably not.
probably
Yeah.
at any rate, Coachella is still a strong squad, still fun, and Calgary is Calgary. I feel like this team's at the top of the Pacific. It's kind of annoying me at this point. Like, you're
Right. It's like, come on, be original. Give me something
right.
new. Well, I don't like checking the standings in the Atlantic. Like,
Yeah,
give me something new.
they're always at the top. Coachella is always at the top. Um, and so naturally, the two heads of the juggernauts are always going to clash. There's been some really memorable playoff series already between these two squads. Coachella's seem to come up every time. I feel like Calgary's got to be sick of it, and they got
So
to.
they gotta be, yeah, they gotta be chomping at that bit there. Get it?
Mhm.
Because they're wranglers and horses chomp at their bit. Anyway, they got they gotta be ready to take the Firebirds down.
I agree. If I was in Calgary in the locker room, I would literally just be like playing highlights of Riker Evans triple overtime winner, which I had to stay. I was covering that game. I from the East Coast. I was up until like 3 o'clock watching that game. It was miserable. And then Podorowski's Game 5 OT winner that sent the Wranglers home. And last year's playoff defeat. I would just keep playing clips of these over and over and be like, until you guys beat these guys, like this is what your life's gonna be. I don't care if you just came here this season or if you've been here for 3 years now. This is what it's gonna. We got to overcome this. You got to exercise some demons here. That's all I got to say. And I know it's not the playoffs, but if you want to go anywhere, you're gonna have to see this team in the playoffs.
Yeah, Calgary. I thought you were hockey players.
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, I'll play on one leg. I don't care. Will that make you happy?
That ought to get them going.
I'll clean up. Um, yeah, as long as Calgary doesn't treat this. Wait, no, I already used the throwaway game up in Rochester line. Come back to me. I'll think of something else. You got nothing? I got nothing.
I got nothing. Calgary, why do you want to play college hockey?
Girls.
I'm serious, Calgary. Why do you want to play college hockey?
I wanted to win a Calder Cup. Podorowski snipes my goalie, steals the ring right off my finger.
Everyone was throwing cheap shots.
Oh man, I don't know about you. I'm fired up for tonight. I really, really don't want to look at me editing this episode tomorrow morning and feel like
Wow. Yeah, listen, as a very Canadian American, my loyalties are a little split. I want the United States to do well, but at the end of the day, I'm also Canadian, so there's a problem.
Well, as a very American, there's only one way to go on about. Oh, say, can you see?
No. It's got to be. Listen, if you're gonna sing the national anthem, it's got to be that one where the guide's like totally fudged it. He's like, and the Rockets red glare, we're so gallantly there. What's that? You not heard it? Put it on the screen.
I'm not putting it on the screen. We only have like a minute to go anyway.
It's great. It's my favorite one. That and Fergie.
Not Fergie. I can't. I need better vibes heading into this game. I can't have Fergie. Oh no! God, where's Karen Newman when you need her?
Or that one time, dude, if you think one of the little girl whose parents need to tell her no more often, she was like in full regalia, custom sequined American flag dress, and she was like, yeah.
Right. Before we butcher this lovely song anymore, I'm gonna call it that this week at Taps. That's D over there.
And the Rockets were there.
Maybe in Laval, but not in America.
All right. Well, look it up. Just go to the Google and hit "Rockets Were There" national anthem. It'll be your favorite rendition. I promise.
And that's the episode.